Good morning. My name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting the latest updates from Kuya Silver, which trades on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol KUYA. Joining me once again is Kuya's President and CEO, David Stein. David, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Megan. It's my pleasure, as always.
Now, for our listeners who are new to Kuya Silver, could you give us an overview of the company and your two high-grade silver projects?
Sure. So we have two projects that we're advancing at the same time. Our more advanced project is the Bethania silver mine in Peru. That's one that we've owned since we went public. So it's a high-grade silver mine that was in production up until a few years ago. We've been looking at making improvements to the process and putting it back into production, and we made some very important announcements recently, which is going to lead us back into production here in 2024. So it's been a project that's given us a lot of exploration excitement and growth over the past few years, but we're very excited to move it forward now into production. And we see a lot of growth potential both in the production side and also on the resource exploration side as well from this district in central Peru. And then we also have the Silver Kings project that we started acquiring land in the famous cobalt silver camp in Northern Ontario about 2 years ago. And we made a discovery there earlier this year. We own a huge package of claims and leases and patents covering many rich historical mines, and then lots of new targets as well that we're generating ourselves. So it's a very exciting project, and obviously in a great jurisdiction, Canada.
Mm-hmm. And it's been a busy year for Kuya, where we've seen some significant developments from both of your projects. So today I'd like to discuss the last 12 months for the company and dive into what investors can expect from Kuya in 2024. So starting with Silver Kings, could you please introduce the project to our listeners and walk us through your Angus vein discovery from earlier this year?
Sure. We've been acquiring properties in this area. We like the fact that it's very high grade silver with cobalt as a byproduct. And, so that sort of high grade narrow vein style of mining is something that we're very accustomed to in Peru. So that really is what led us here a few years ago. And we have accumulated this very large land package. It stretches for about 30 kilometers from north to south. We focus mostly on the northern section of that land package recently, which we call the Kerr project, named after Kerr Lake there in the middle. This is where we had the most data from previous operators, most historical mining. This, after the town of Cobalt itself, this was probably the next most important production center historically in the whole camp. So we had a lot of really interesting targets here initially that we generated from historical results, and then we've been adding to that ourselves with more recent exploration that Kuya's been leading. So we actually, although we've got other very interesting targets on this property, on this section of the properties, we decided to move our drills to this property called Campbell Crawford, which actually never saw any production. It's almost rare in this part of the camp that you have a property with zero production on it, but we found one. And we decided to drill some deep holes deep for here, which was 200 meters. And why we decided to do that was because the diabase here, which seems to be an important rock to control the mineralization, but it's not a good host rock. So where you've got this diabase, which is this pinky orange unit here at surface, you typically will not see any silver mineralization. And indeed, that's the case here. You see some structures, maybe some base metals here and there, but no silver. And so we drilled below that and tried to intersect these structures at depth where the contact is between the diabase and these older rocks. And sure enough, that's where we made our discovery earlier this year. So the initial Angus vein discovery hole, which is hole number 8 in the program, hit 15,000 grams per ton over 3.34 meters. Probably one of the richest drill intercepts in the world in the past few years. And for a discovery hole, not an infill hole, that's just an incredible feat, I think. Really proved our model out in terms of exploring this camp. And obviously now this has become the highest of the high priority targets for us to drill out this Angus vein and this whole Campbell Crawford property.
Now, later this year, the company commenced a second phase program at Silver Kings. Can you give our listeners an overview of this program and the strategy from the company as you followed up on the high-grade Angus vein discovery?
Sure. So, we really hit the Angus vein with 2 holes, hole 13 and hole 8 in the program before, right as we were finishing our drill program in the spring of this year. So we started a phase 2 program this fall, and we're just completing that now, where we are drilling essentially more holes in the same area to try and flesh out the veins and the structures that we're looking for at depth here. Obviously it's a blind target, 200 meters below surface, which means when you drill at an angle, it's going to be between 250 and 300 meters is where you're hitting it. So that's what we're doing. That's sort of the challenge we have. But obviously, now that we have some holes with some mineralized structure to follow, it makes the job much easier. We're also going to target another vein that we found on the other side of the there's a lake just to the west here, and on the other side of that lake we found another vein at surface that looks identical to the Angus vein and the McNamara vein called the Clark vein. So we're going to drill that as well. So that's kind of the program that we have right now. It's really focused on getting more data on this northern area, this Campbell Crawford property in particular, so that we can start to flesh out the mineralized structures that we expect to see at depth, and with the intention of eventually getting to a resource there. However, in between our 2 drill programs, we did do some really good field work, regional field work, this particularly late summer of this year. And we did generate some new targets as well that I'm quite excited about. We're not going to really be able to test them this fall with this current program, but we have some very exciting other prospects as well, including down in the Silver Center area at the southern tip of our properties there, where we are finding some really good mineralization that looks very similar to what we're seeing up in the Kerr Lake area. So we've got, on this chart here, we're showing probably about 50 different targets. These are targets where we think we can hit mineralization, blind mineralization at depth below the diabase in most cases. Maybe a few of them, the target might be above the diabase, but the vast majority is going to be below. And then these are ranked based on the data that we have today. So the top ranked targets already have a discovery either by us or by previous operators. And then as we go down on this, we get to more and more kind of conceptual grassroots targets. But there's lots and lots of targets here. We really have a district here that's, I think is going to produce multiple resources and multiple mines that can feed, a centralized mill or processing facility. And that's really got to be the model here. And it really fits in well with what's been done historically in the cobalt camp.
More recently, we've seen the company accelerate development at your Bethania Silver project in Peru. Can you walk us through the Bethania District, including your Bethania Silver mine, which you'll be looking to put back into production in 2024?
Sure. So we started with the mine itself and that mine concession, which is the pink property there in this map, back when we went public. We've been accumulating properties around this as we, opportunistically as they've been available. And we've done so both through acquisitions and where we acquire from private, concession holders, and then also through claim staking ourselves. And so we've been successful now at building up this really district scale land package, including the mine itself, which has huge potential for growth, without even leaving that pink rectangle there. But beyond that, we do have other targets that we have not only generated targets, but actually proven that there's mineralization there through some pretty intensive surface sampling that we've done. That would be Carmelitas and Carmelitas Norte, just off to the west there, still very close to the mine. So we've got potentially 2 different satellite zones, as well as the mine itself, and then lots of other, the red stars or other targets that we've identified through other historical work. So we've got numerous targets here. We really see this as a district controlled by lots of regional hydrothermal mineralization, producing these precious metals, in particular silver. So that's what we've got here, and that's what we're working towards unlocking over the coming years.
And it's been a busy few months at Bethania, where you've signed a toll milling agreement with the nearby CMSV processing facility. And then this was followed by a strategic investment by Trafigura to assist with the startup of production. Can you give our listeners an overview of your toll milling plans and the significance of now having a strategic investment from Trafigura?
Yeah, so we discussed toll milling as early or as far back as our PEA, which was in the middle of 2022. At the time, we were looking at building our own mill, which we are permitted to do and still plan to do ultimately. But what we've been able to do now in this very difficult market has been to reach a deal with our next door neighbor, which is definitely a preferred location to mill our ore, given its proximity and given also the fact that we've used that mill before, with the previous operators of Bethania. So we've got some good experience there. Allows us to essentially defer that capital expenditure to build our own mill off into the future, but it actually doesn't prevent us from getting into production. And in fact, maybe even it may even be a little quicker to do it this way. So with the combination of the toll milling agreement we announced in October, which we can take a look at where this is located. So here's our properties from basically the same map I just showed you. And then this other mine is located just over here. The truck haul road is identified on this slide in green here. You can see it's about 20 kilometers to go to that mine by road. And it's only about 7 kilometers away, direct. So that is where we'll be toll milling to start off. And then, the other announcement was the deal with Trafigura. We're going to sell our concentrate through them. They're providing a significant amount of the funding that we need to restart the mine. And so that was a real nice kind of catalyst for us between those 2 announcements in October and November to really kick off the restart of production, which will start, the actual development on the ground here in the next few weeks in early January.
And you have a strategic investment from a leading commodities group. And this week you closed your first tranche of your private placement for more than $2.5 million, both significant financings in a weak precious metals sector. What can investors now expect from the company over the next 12 months?
Well, I think the message loud and clear has been that investors want to see development of Bethania. They've been very supportive with the financing that we just closed, and that combined with the Trafigura strategic investment is really what we needed to get Bethania back into production. So you'll see from us announcements relating to the development, various sort of operational milestones that we hit over the next few months, and then ultimately production and sales aiming around middle of next year is what we're planning on right now. So there will be a lot of news here in the first half of 2024 going into starting production around the middle of the year. And I think what we've seen and what our pitch is to investors is that companies that successfully start mines and can make cash flow doing it become much more valuable, because that eliminates a huge part of the risk of a company, and which is the sort of the perpetual need to finance. Some of our peers that have even small silver production similar to what we're looking at doing, but with good exploration growth, good production growth stories, these companies are worth in the hundreds of millions, and even in one case over $1 billion. We're sitting at around 20 million market cap right now, so there's clearly a huge gap there that we can fill by delivering Bethania here in the next 6 months or so. That's a massive opportunity for us. It's a massive opportunity for our shareholders, and I think that's really got to be the focus. Although we are excited and will continue to explore the Silver Kings project. I mean, that's a really nice second project for us. But I think the opportunity with Bethania is just extraordinary right now.
Absolutely. And David, to cap things off, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with investors as the company gears up for a busy 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my mind, in this really tough market that we've had in precious metals, going back several years now, financing risk has been the biggest risk. So I think we've alleviated that now in this month, literally in the past few days. It may take some time for the market to digest what we've been able to accomplish here, but with that, feather in our cap and the ability to move forward with Bethania and Silver King simultaneously, we're going to have an exciting 2024. I think there's a lot for investors to look forward to, regardless of how the metals market performs, which is great. And then I do think that we are seeing some kind of green shoots in the precious metals market. We saw gold hit an all-time high, sort of making an important positive technical milestone there about a week or so ago. And I think we'll see more of those events in 2024 here. The fundamentals for silver are really strong, and it's just a matter of time before we see I think a consistent and steady rally in the price, and that's going to just add fuel to the fire. All the silver stocks will do well, but I think we'll do extraordinarily well because of our growth profile and the fact that we can go into production here in the short term.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, David, and we are looking forward to having you back on again soon with additional updates.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.